Welcome, focused learners, to another explainer. So, have you ever noticed a tiny detail in a historical text that, most people just completely gloss over, but once you actually see it, it changes absolutely everything? Well, today, we're diving into a massive historical and biblical misconception. See, all over the world, the words Hebrew, Israelite, and Jew are used constantly as if they mean the exact same thing. But here's the thing. They absolutely do not. And by using them interchangeably, we're actually missing out on a fascinating, millennia-spanning story. To clear this all up, we're going to untangle about 4,000 years of history. Here's our agenda for today. First, the great biblical misunderstanding. Second, step 1, the Hebrew. Third, step 2, the Israelite. Fourth, step 3, the Jew. And finally, one identity, 3 expressions. Let's get right into it.
Section 1, the great biblical misunderstanding.
Like I said, millions of people use these terms completely interchangeably, and in doing so, they completely miss the powerful, layered story hidden right inside them. So let me just ask you a direct question right off the bat, and really think about this for a second. Were Abraham, Moses, and David Jews?
The answer might completely shock you. No, they were not. The word didn't even exist yet. Seriously, if you read the first 5 books of the Bible looking for the word Jew, you're going to come up empty-handed. Abraham wasn't a Jew. Moses wasn't a Jew. King David never even heard the word in his entire 40-year reign. So you're probably wondering, where did these identities actually come from? Well, these 3 words were not born at the same time. They're actually 3 distinct identities that were born in 3 crucial historical moments. Step 1, the Hebrew. Step 2, the Israelite. Step 3, the Jew. It's like a staircase. Each identity builds chronologically right on top of the previous one. You literally cannot understand the top of the stairs without starting at the very bottom.
Section 2, Step 1, the Hebrew.
Let's travel way back, about 3,500 years into the past, to uncover the origins of a purely nomadic people. In the ancient original language, the word is abri, which translates literally to the one who crosses over. Think about Abraham. He became the very first Hebrew when he left his home, his inheritance, and the gods of his ancestors to cross one of the most imposing natural borders of the ancient world, the Euphrates River. He stepped right into the unknown, trusting a divine voice. He was, quite literally, the ultimate outsider. Now check this out. Late in the 19th century, archaeologists digging in Egypt and Babylon found these ancient cuneiform tablets mentioning a group called the Habiru. And these weren't some settled nation with a king and a flag. No, they were landless nomads, migrant workers, foreigners, basically outsiders living on the margins of the great empires. Now, whether the biblical Hebrews and the Habido are the exact same group, or maybe just cultural cousins, the point remains incredibly powerful. A Hebrew was a label given by the world to a foreigner, a wanderer, someone who lived on the other side. Section 3, Step 2, the Israelite. Now we're moving up the staircase. We're shifting from an individual outsider crossing a physical border to a growing family securing a divine covenant. The word Israel translates to he who struggles with God, or God struggles. And this identity was born on a dark, moonless night at the Jabbok River. Abraham's grandson, Jacob, a guy who'd basically lived his entire life as a trickster and a deceiver, was absolutely terrified of facing his estranged brother the next morning. In the pitch dark, he wrestled with a mysterious divine figure until dawn. Exhausted, injured, and absolutely refusing to let go, Jacob confessed his true deceptive nature and demanded a blessing. And right there in the dirt, he earned this powerful new name, Israel, he who struggles with God. Notice the really stark contrast here. Hebrew is the label for the foreigner, right? The outsider, the pilgrim seeking a promise. But Israelite is the word for the insider, the heir. Jacob, who is now Israel, had 12 sons. Those sons had massive families, which then became the 12 tribes, the Israelites. So they're no longer just individuals crossing a river. They are a united people, insiders, living firmly within the promise. Section 4, Step 3, the Jew. Okay, let me prepare you, because this is the darkest point of the historical narrative arc. To forge this third identity, a massive, world-ending catastrophe was actually required. After 400 years of a united kingdom under kings like David and Solomon, absolute disaster strikes. In 930 BC, the kingdom splits in 2. Then, in 722 BC, the brutal Assyrian Empire completely destroys the 10 northern tribes of Israel. They just vanish from history. And then,
In 587 BC, the unthinkable happens. The Babylonians lay siege to the southern kingdom of Judah. They destroy the walls, they capture the king, and they burn the sacred temple of Solomon straight to the ground. The survivors are dragged away in chains all the way across the desert into exile in Babylon. Stripped of their land, their king, and their holy temple, the survivors sat weeping in a strange, pagan land and had to ask themselves, who are we now? The kingdom of Israel was just gone. All that was left were the survivors of the southern kingdom, primarily from the tribe of Judah. In Hebrew, that's Yehuda, and that became Yehudi, meaning simply the one from Judah. Down the line, through Greek and eventually Latin, that word became what we use today, Jew. It is fundamentally an identity born from surviving in exile. But here's the amazing part. This exile didn't just break them. It forced them to adapt in some truly brilliant ways. Stripped of absolutely everything, they created 3 massive cultural innovations. First, synagogues. Because they no longer had a central temple, they needed local places to gather and pray. Second, rabbis. Since the priests didn't have an altar for sacrifices anymore, they needed teachers of the texts. And third, the compiled Hebrew Bible. It was written down and meticulously copied so the memory of who they were would never be erased by their captors. These 3 inventions, born from absolute tragedy, allowed this newly formed identity to survive without a temple for the next 2,500 years. It's really incredible.
Section 5. 1. Identity. 3. Expressions.
So how does this whole staircase come together? Well, let's explore how historical figures seamlessly carried all 3 of these identities, perfectly understanding the context of each one. It beautifully illustrates our entire journey today. The Hebrew represents origins, embodying the pilgrim. The Israelite represents the covenant, embodying the heir. And the Jew represents history, embodying the survivor. When Jesus of Nazareth walked the earth, he embodied all 3 of these simultaneously. He spoke the Hebrew language and carried the lineage of Abraham the pilgrim. He was an Israelite, an heir to the 12 tribes without the deceit of Jacob. And legally, historically, he was a Jew, living under Roman occupation, celebrating the survival of his people, and ultimately dying under a sign that officially read, King of the Jews.
We also see this incredible linguistic code switching perfectly with the Apostle Paul. He wasn't confused at all when he referred to himself using 3 different words in his letters. To the Romans, to emphasize his place in God's chosen pact, he wrote, I am an Israelite. To the Philippians, to highlight his strict, pure, ancient lineage, he proudly called himself a Hebrew of Hebrews. And when he was standing trial before a Roman tribunal, needing to identify himself in the official administrative language of the empire, he simply stated, I am a Jew. 3 words, 3 distinct historical windows, 1 deeply layered identity. The source material suggests that we are all, in some way, grafted into this incredibly ancient story. So as we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with a powerful provocation to reflect on. Which are you today? Are you the pilgrim, currently daring to cross over into the unknown and leave the familiar behind? Are you the wrestler, grappling in the dark with the divine, absolutely refusing to let go until you find your blessing and true identity? Or are you the survivor, rebuilding your faith from the ashes of an exile, learning to carry your beliefs internally when the temples of your past have burned down? Think about that for a bit, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.